What's up, guys? Today we're going to be covering updates on the leaks for Loki episodes 5 and 6.
Pretty much all these leaks today are image-based leaks or footage-based leaks rather. So this image right here shows boastful Loki and our Loki getting into a scuffle in what looks like a part of post-apocalyptic New York, as we saw him with boastful Loki in the post-credit scene. He knocks some dude's hat off, and that might be one of the henchmen for President Loki. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, I think so. And curiously enough, this is the same room where President Loki appears, and you can tell because of the red banners on the top. So it's definitely like, American flag themed in a way. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think at this point, President Loki will appear. And I know you had a crazy theory about that, right?
Yeah, I do have a crazy theory about this. Like, what if that Loki, like, I know we've always been saying, like, Loki, the President Loki is our Loki, but what if President Loki is a different guy? Like, he's a variant, and then he would be talking to himself. He'd be like, imagine if Loki, like Tom Hiddleston, our Loki that we know, would be looking at the President Loki and being like, what's going on here? And he'd be like, what did you expect? Of course I'm the leader.
Yeah, but curiously enough, we do see a scene where the henchmen and the Loki variants, I don't know if they're the same type of people. Maybe the henchmen are Loki variants. Point is, they start turning on President Loki and, hold him at knife point, essentially. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, multiple knife
Yeah, multiple
points.
knife points. But the thing is, I think uh, these Loki variants have recruited Loki, our Loki, to infiltrate the presidency's ranks and overthrow President Loki.
It's possible that that clip that you're talking about is definitely substantiated. I'm kind of disappointed that because the we saw this President Loki, and I remember seeing a comic cover somewhere of Captain Falcon, like Captain America's Falcon, when he's just face palming in the side. I wish we could see that at some point. I'm kind of disappointed that our Loki doesn't get to become President Loki if this leak is true.
Yeah, even for a minute, just like Anthony Mackie in the background, just shaking his head. Like, come on, man.
That would have been really good.
Next, we have a bunch of scenes of Loki walking through a purple library. Now, if you ask me, this looks very much Asgardian as far as aesthetic goes. And he has a sword in his back as he enters this sort of cracked door, and he ends up using this sword in the library. My question is, where the hell is this librarian, right? Why are you allowed to use swords and do stunts in a library?
Maybe even crazier. Maybe the librarian is the one that they're fighting, which is why they need to do all these stunts. It would be really funny if that happened. And on top of that, I feel like they might be able to figure out who's running the TVA from this library somehow.
That is a good point. It might be like a research endeavor of sorts.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking. Like maybe they go there and they find some like I don't know, maybe they find some book. I don't know, maybe they do a whole like side quest that way. It'd be kind of disappointing if they spent too long on finding this book, but maybe a book that shows the creation of the TVA and they somehow decipher it to figure out where it's going.
Wait, hot take. I think previously the showrunners have said this show is going to tie into Doctor Strange 2. We might get some multiverse of madness connections here as far as, arcane literature goes. Who knows?
Maybe a little Darkhold cameo again.
I would love to see that.
Because we know some of them are missing, right? How many did they have? A couple of them were like missing or something like that. Maybe we're completely wrong here, but I think there was something about that. Anyways, let's get to the next one. Sylvie's Nexus event. Now, there's a really good theory that came out here. It's labeled a leak, but I'm still gonna call this a theory since there's no proof for this one. But what if the Nexus event of Sylvie was that she was actually told that she was adopted? All the Lokis so far, or at least all the Lokis that we've seen, have not been told that they were adopted. They've had to find out on their own and feel betrayed and therefore turn evil. Maybe at that time, Sylvie had already been told that she was adopted and therefore, she didn't have this like crazy hatred for Odin and Thor.
I'll tell you this, it makes a lot more sense than, the Nexus event being her playing with the toys, right?
Yeah, especially because they just zoomed into those toys, and that was my theory earlier. So, yeah.
So, anyways, Mobius was caught in 4K driving through Egypt without his mustache. I guess it must have fallen off while he was getting pruned or something.
Yeah, did they see why? Here's my question. So this, thank you to the guy on Twitter who created this, who take this image and turn this into 4K. I really appreciate that. But did the CGI happen to the mustache? Like what's going on here? The most prevalent theory right now is that this is Loki pretending to be Mobius. I personally think that theory is stupid because Loki during illusions wouldn't remove the stash. Like there was just no reason for it. I do think that the most likely thing is just that during this edit, somehow it just, like it just blended.
Yeah, I think that might very well be a possibility.
But does that mean that he's alive?
I think it definitely means that he's he's going to be in the show in a conventional sense, but you can make the case that Is Loki alive right now, or is he in sort of like afterlife? Right?
Well, we're gonna get to all of that when we talk about where he is, because it looks like him, Loki, and Sylvie end up in the same, general area, and a lot of Mobius fans are gonna be really happy to see this leak because it looks like he's still alive. It looks like at least he still has a part to play in the show.
I gotta say though, the way he's gritting his teeth doesn't look like he's too happy.
Yeah, but he is in Egypt. It looks like, does it?
I think he's in Cairo, bro. You can see the Great Sphinx right there,
Yeah,
right? Giza.
yeah, Giza. So that does have connections to like Moon Knight and all. So again, I'm reaching here, but it's possible. Anything could happen.
Yeah, maybe like a passing reference to Khonshu, the Egyptian god who contacted Moon Knight as he lay dying, right?
Yeah, it's possible. Anything is possible here, but we're gonna get into all of this, this lighting, because lighting is a big part of this show. As you've probably noticed as well, the blue-green lighting, almost always, or in fact, always, that meant that they were in that little in the Citadel place with the timekeepers. The golden lighting means they're in the TVA, and this purple lighting just means that they're in Egypt, in next to this, the pyramids and all that. It could be that this library is also located in Egypt somewhere.
Yeah, that is a good point. But I do want to say that Loki and Sylvie, we saw them also pull up to this location, and Loki's seen running. So I do want to find out why he's running. Is there like an apocalypse? Maybe Mobius is trying to run away from the same thing, right?
There was a lot of wind there too. It's possible that there is an apocalyptic event going on. There is another thing that we noticed that was a little bit out of the ordinary. It's a little bit weird. I'm gonna let you take this one because this is your catch.
Yeah, so in the mid-season trailer, you can see this ship kind of pop out of the sky. It's called the USS Eldridge. Now, this was a real ship in the Navy, but what's interesting is that in the alleged Philadelphia experiment, the same ship was claimed to have been rendered invisible. So it sounds like that might be what's happening here. Like the ship might be getting uncloaked in midair. But I think that it's more likely that a bunch of ships are just being dumped here because you can see Loki walking through more shipwrecks in another shot. Plus, there's a giant shield, which looks suspiciously like our favorite captain's shield. So, you know.
It you know what it looks like to me? It looks like the one from like when it was made in the first Captain America without the like Star Spangled, like the whole like America theme.
Yeah, it really does.
So again, the Eldridge, right? They're saying it disappeared. Loki so far is also like they retcon DB Cooper into making him Loki, so maybe they're gonna retcon this ship too.
Yeah, I like this sort of like revisionist history perspective they're going on. Anyways, let's talk about Kang. So I think Kang, we might get a reference to him when they're in Egypt because Kang was, as we mentioned before, the Pharaoh Ramatut in one of his incarnations.
Yes, okay, there was that leak, so he had connections to Egypt, and then there was also the leak that they found the other day, which was that Ravona's number was A23. I'll put the graphic up right here so you guys can see. I really think that we will see that he was the one behind it, and the only other theory that I can think of is just that it's not Kang and it's Loki controlling the TVA somehow. It's one of the Lokis, like one another variant. And I'm only mentioning this because I want it to be Kang 100%, but the way that, the MCU's been going recently, they've been missing a lot of opportunities. And although I don't want them to miss this opportunity, I could totally see it happening.
No, this is why I think your theory actually has a lot of credence. So you might think that this post-apocalyptic New York is just like another point in the sacred timeline, but I think it sort of has this like otherworldly out of time quality to it because that's where all the people who are pruned are going, looks like, right? So maybe this is whoever's in charge of the TVA's actual base of operations. It's not the Citadel, it's this post-apocalyptic New York, right?
Maybe President Loki is the one behind this whole thing in the first place. I don't know. If they don't bring in Kang, like I said, this is a huge missed opportunity. But the way the MCU missed with Mephisto, has missed with old Captain America and Falcon and the Winter Soldier making a return, I'm just worried that they miss here too.
Yeah, but I think a good way to time into the show is, as the comics indicate, Kang has some beef with timekeepers, so maybe he killed, the actual Ast, Vorth, and Xanth, and then after that, he ended up like, putting out those puppets just to make sure no one else thought something was up, right?
Yeah, and the only person who actually knows is Ravonna, it looks like, because judging by how unfazed she was, and we mentioned this in the review, judging by how unfazed she was by the timekeeper's head coming off and it just ending out to be like wires, like she definitely knows what's going on. And
And
in
the
the
lovers
comics,
too, right?
in the comics, Ravonna and Kang have a little thing going on, so it's really possible that Kang gets introduced that way.
I think it is. Now let's close this out with talking about Loki, King of Asgard.
Yeah, Loki, it looks like there's a scene where he's, being coronated into like getting his crown and all that. And I guess maybe they ended it with Loki. Maybe they end the show with Loki finally getting what he wants, which is his glorious purpose.
I think that would be a solid ending for this show, and frankly, I'd love to see it because Loki needs a win at this point, right?
Yeah, he's lost pretty much every other iteration of him we've seen. That would be cool. Another theory is just that it's just another variant that we get to see. Just endless Lokis.
But I think there's sort of like a poetic quality in Loki going back to where it all started, right?
The only reason I think this theory it doesn't really have that much of a chance of happening is because would they really put the ending scene, the one to close it out, in a trailer?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. I think a lot of movies and TV shows make the mistake of spoiling everything in the trailer. And I don't think Marvel is guilty of the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that, but who knows? That would be a really cool way to end out. But this is probably the biggest question mark that I have, other than President Loki and what's going on with him. Loki, King of Asgard. What do you guys think will happen? Put it down below and let us know. And drop any other leaks that you guys have down in the comments. That's all we got for you right now. See you.